Hello, everybody. I will be holding the microphone up for a long time and bouncing on the chair, it looks like. So I'm Blake Allen. I'm from Colorado Springs area of Colorado. I've been licensed in real estate for 35 years. I've been a member of the National Council of Exchangors for about 14 or 15 years. And this is the primary way that I do business, is through exchanging. So we have a lot of the older experienced members here. You're going to be miserably bored with this basics of exchanging. So I would hope that all of you with experience help me teach it at the same time, because it is it's information all of you are aware of. Anyone who's new and hasn't done this kind of business, I see a few of you out here, not a lot of you. Those of us who do this generally make a lot more money than other brokers. We do a lot more business. We have high volume of business. We're so busy, we don't have a minute to go look for new business. We've just got tons of business coming to us. So if that's not your situation, please reach out to some of us, because we have a lot of business to share, and learn what we do, and you'll see the demand for your time will just become enormous, where you just aren't going to have enough time to serve all your clients, which, you know, has its own problems, but it's a good situation to be in. So I guess just so give me an idea, how many people here have not been to exchange meetings before? Is this your first exchange meeting? Wow, just one person, his first exchange meeting. How many have only been to the local meetings? Have you been to the local meetings? Okay, just a few of you to the local meetings, all right. And how many of you have actually been to the NCE meetings? I think a good portion of you, okay. So you see the ratio of bored people to not bored people here? So we're going to target you there, young lady. Sonia, you're going to be, and another thing, so a guy my age, here, I'm a young guy in this group. This is a group we all like to join, because unless you're Rick's age, you're going to be a young guy. So, or a young person, I should say. So anyhow, all right, what I'm going to go over today is just the basics of how we do business. It's a lot different than what we say in, tongue-in-cheek a little bit of plant and pray real estate. We expect you to do for your client a little bit more than to plant a sign in the yard and pray that it sells, more than to put it in the MLS and some of the rest. We expect you to actually get to know your clients and help them through their life with their real estate needs. And it's a very effective way of doing business. It gets you lifelong clients, and it's just real effective. So I'm going to go through this. It should, we've scheduled 3 hours. Hopefully it's not going to take that long. One thing I'd like you to do is open your notebook, and you'll see in there, a few pages in, there's what's called a value perception sheet. We're going to be filling that out here in a little bit. Everybody's a little bit different. And then also there's a bunch of slides to go through. So that one that's gray, because it was taken from, that shows you how old that thing is. So that gray sheet is something that's been passed around in exchange education for a long time. It's called a value perception chart. It's something, a little exercise we're going to go over. Alrighty, here's the big title. Here's my disclosure. I love reading this to people. All of what we're talking about here is real estate held for investment. This is not for an owner-occupied home. This is not something that's going to apply to Dodd-Frank. Okay, this is only real estate held for investment, stuff that's eligible to do a 1031 exchange. Although we don't always have to do a 1031 exchange, but that's what we're talking about here. We're not talking about a house with a person where the person who owns it lives in it. We make sure we don't talk about that. I'm not an attorney or a tax expert. Okay, I'm a real estate broker just like you. I don't know anything more than any of you do. And Ben, I always say, this is our disclosure from Tom and I's last class. I changed the pronouns, but you really shouldn't listen to me at all about anything. And I take no responsibility for your further actions, for your future actions. So, there's your disclosure. Don't listen to me. And now for the next few hours, waste your time listening to me. Here's my phone number. Shoot, I didn't have my email on there. How to get a hold of me. You'll have more contact in the book. It gives my cell phone number, which I don't publish out there. 2 groups, National Council of Exchangers. Your group is an affiliate member of the National Council of Exchangers. You're already affiliate members there. They meet in Las Vegas 4 times a year. Next meeting is October 18th through the 21st. There is a full day of education where you get a full 8-hour class, which goes towards your EMS kind of designation on when you go there on the 17th or the 18th of October of this year. So I recommend everybody go out to Las Vegas. We'll have over 100 brokers meeting and you know, $1 billion worth of inventory. Society of Exchange Counselors is a group that's been around a little bit longer. They're celebrating now 60 years. It's an invitation-only deal, but a lot of us have been able to go to there, and if you do this long enough, you'll spend a lot of time at their meetings as well. This is for our local stuff. We have our Mile High Exchangers. They do Zoom every Wednesday, and Pikes Peak Exchangers, we do it first and third Fridays. You guys meet every Thursday, so your local group, just insert that at the bottom there. Okay, how these things work. Most people know this, but I'll read it to you. We each have a number. We bring packages, which are identify sets of benefits. They do include a property most of the time, but really they're not just a property flyer. This isn't an MLS flyer. We're talking a package, a set of benefits. It's the client and the property. Our packages, so we each have a number. The packages have numbers too, okay? We're going to come up here and have a moderated presentations. I'm assuming we'll have a podium on that. Yeah, so we'll pull the podium out. So a person's going to stand up here and present their package. Another more experienced member of the group is going to moderate them. The moderator asks the questions, the presenter answers, and then we take numbers. Okay, so we're all getting you, we already know what we do here, and that's what we're getting set up to do, okay? Any of you who didn't know, that's what you're going to be doing the next day and a half, is it's going to be one presentation after another. The real basics of what we do here, the two basic sides of exchanging are counseling and formulas, okay? I like to say the light side and the dark side of the force, okay? Counseling is the light side of the force. Counseling is how you get to know people, how you help them, how you improve their lives. The formulas are the mechanisms, the firepower, the weapons, however you want to call it, the tools that we use to get it done. If you just use the tools and you don't try to do it right through counseling, you might just be Darth Vader, okay? So we want to make sure that we have both the counseling element and the formula element. Counseling is asking questions, listening, and doing your best to understand your client. Doing your best to understand your client, who they are. Formulas are methods of delivering benefits through real estate transactions. Just ways of delivering benefits through real estate transactions. And these are the basics of what we're talking about when we're talking about equity marketing and exchanging. Now, when we say equity marketing, what we're pointing out is we're marketing just that portion of the property that your client owns. It is tied with the whole property, but there's also debt and there's a bank, lender, other people need to be satisfied. We can only trade that portion of the property that we own, which is why we all refer to equity marketing, okay? We're exchanging the full property a lot of times, but we're really marketing just the equity. I think everybody here should know this. This is the little map of what you do when you do a 1031, okay? You have a property with equity and debt, you sell it, you give the money to a qualified intermediary, and then you go buy another property, okay? We can do this with cash, we can do this with paper, we can do the rest of it. For tax purposes, sometimes this is what we're doing in this room, okay? When you exchange a property for a property, sometimes you treat it as a 1031, sometimes you don't, depending on the circumstances of the individual client. We still use the 1031 process quite a bit, but what we're talking about with simultaneous exchanging is not just a 1031 exchange, it's a little bit more. All right, everybody following there? Questions or comments?
I'm trying to clarify, if you're doing a direct exchange, you don't have to use a qualified intermediary. If you're using a down payment as a lot.
Yeah, you don't have to use a qualified intermediary in a direct exchange. You just might want to do it just to make it your tax form a little better. But yeah, and when you do a simultaneous exchange, there's no need for a qualified intermediary because there's no proceeds that are held by a third party at all. You just go to a title company, you put a lot down, and if you're buying a house with a lot, for instance, you put the lot down, you bring a new loan, and one person leaves there with one deed, and the other one leaves with the other deed, and some money, and there's no 1031 exchange because there was nothing to defer. Now you take the person who took that property in and took the cash, they're going to have a tax consequence probably. They could 1031 that cash portion, and they could 1031 the deed, but they don't have to. Okay, and so it really depends. Sometimes in these days, since we all feel that taxes might be higher in the future than they are now, I have a whole bunch of clients who are choosing just not to do a 1031. They're gonna sell the property, they're gonna pay the taxes, and then they're gonna have the full basis in the property that they trade into. Okay, so they've paid at the 20% tax rate, anticipating it's gonna be higher in the future, and now instead of having a lower basis in the property they're buying, they have a high basis. Okay, so that's just one of the nuances. I don't want to get everyone confused as I ramble on, forgive me. Let me go to the next one. So, as Tom Van Erp always teaches us, that's Tom Van Erp sitting over there, experienced note guy. Asking questions is the first step in any real estate endeavor, okay? You gotta ask questions. Why are you doing this? Why would you sell this wonderful property? What are you gonna do with the money? Why are we doing this? Is it the right thing for you to sell this thing? Your regular realtor has somebody come in and says, I want to sell my house. They say, okay, sign here. And it used to be press hard, there are 3 copies. Now now you just push a button. It's different, but you want to find out why they're doing it, because you don't want to do harm. You want to help them. And if it's the wrong thing to sell their house, if that's the conclusion, then they ought to make the right decision, even if the right decision is you don't earn a commission. Okay. Ask questions. Counseling before the meeting. We really want you to get to know your client. So when you come here to the meeting with an exchange package, and somebody gives you an offer, and it's a piece of land in Tucumcari, and they got a house in the South Valley, you need to know. Pretty good idea. Are they going to take that lot out in Tucumcari? Because how motivated are they to get out of South Valley? Okay, these are just areas I made up here that I know. But you see what I'm saying? Those things are important. In the moderation, when you're moderated during the meeting, you only have a few minutes to get it out. If you have to think about the answers to the questions and come up with the answers in your head, you're probably going to waste some of your client's time at the podium. So anticipate what questions might be asked of you and know the answers, okay? How much debt is there? How much income? How big is it? How many acres? What do the people do? Can they get a new loan? Some of these questions that people are going to ask. The goal of the moderator is to make the presentation the best that it can be, to focus on the benefits offered by the property and its ownership, and to identify takers, okay? You have a number of people in this group that are really good moderators, okay? So you're lucky here in New Mexico, you have a very strong group with experienced people who can help you with this. The whole goal is to identify takers, but you want to put, when you're up here at the podium presenting your package, we don't want to hear about how pretty it is, okay? Some of that pretty is not really a benefit, and other than the jokes. But what do they want? Do they need cash flow? Some people don't need money. Some people money's a burden. They need something different. They need a different set of benefits. So you put the benefits out there that this property and this package and this people offer, looking for people who want to take those benefits, okay? We do not care. The person who's the taker doesn't care what you want. So the person at the podium who says, I want this, that, and the other thing, we don't care, okay? We care if we want their property. And if we want their property, can they find a way to take our property and make it work, okay? Because again, you can stand up there and say what you want, and again, I'm going to have to be mean. I know some people think I'm mean. Yeah, we don't care. So we'll get to that part of it here in a minute. Okay, now what I'd love all of you to do, because I set this up early, is get your little value perception things out, a little chart, and what we've got is 20 items. This list has been around for a long time. It's a very good list. I was thinking of making a new list, and this list is just pretty darn good. So here's 14 vehicles, okay? The assumption is you're going to buy these with money, okay? You got a big pile of money. What are the things that you want first? And go ahead through this list of 14, and if you take a few minutes, take about 3 or 4 minutes, write down your 10 favorite things in the order of preference from top to bottom. So on the top of that little piece of paper in those little columns, And then you may want to write other people's name. When there's more than one column, is you can compare to other people. But go ahead and just write in the columns, starting at the first, what you like best, okay? If you say, I really like cash, number 12 would be number 1. If you really want free and clear houses, number 7 would be number 1, okay? So go through this, please, each of you do it, and write down, each of you should have one to scribble on, or write on a little piece of paper, and just take a couple of minutes to do that. I know it's kind of a pain when people, instructors, make people in the class actually do something and participate, but I'd like you to do this because I think it illustrates real well the point I'm trying to make here. Okay, all right, well, I think everybody's about done with it. Who wants to be picked on to give us your list of numbers? Okay, so we have 4 examples. We have 4 examples there that we just got, and let me go and look at them. Okay. First of all, if you notice them, how similar are these groups of numbers?
Not very.
No, not very. So the first 3 have a 7 in the first 4. 2 of them have a 1, and 2 of them have a 3. 2 of them have a 5, okay? That's what these people have in common. And we're a relatively homogeneous group being experienced real estate brokers, okay? And yeah, you go through the whole, so let's just go through some of the stuff, and then let's see what it tells us a little bit about people and about what they've been doing, okay? So Victor, he likes break-even property in a fast-growing area first, okay? He likes free and clear houses second. You'll take free and clear income property, and then free and clear triple net Walgreens, okay? Number 4, paper notes, deeds of trust. Okay, let's just go over his first 5. Okay, now Broderick. Broderick starts with, he likes subdividable free and clear land. That's actually not that different from the break-even property in fast-growing area, subdividable free and clear land. Number 5, he also likes break-even property in a fast-growing area. And then he free and clear houses, makes it up there. So does a protective farm, he's from Kansas. And triple net, everybody's pretty good on triple net. Now let's think of Brandon, who's younger. Brandon likes free and clear income property, as we all do. He likes free and clear houses. He likes free and clear triple net Walgreens. He likes paper notes, deeds of trust, and productive farm with 40% debt. And 20%, I'd say the productive farm is probably the first one that fits out of the role. There's a hierarchy, Brandon, generally of values. Some people try to print it out and say, oh, that this one's worth more and this one's more important than this one. It's different for everybody, but you've pretty much hit as close as you can probably to what, if we took all the numbers together, what the aggregate would be, okay? Because generally people do prefer free and clear income property, free and clear houses, paper, notes, deeds, and trust, some of that kind of stuff. So now let's go to Celicia. She's got a different set of them. She wants that 20%, 20 or 8% triple net lease, 50% debt at 4.5%. Okay, now why does she want that instead of the free and clear triple net Walgreens? And I'm going to answer for her whether she would answer or not. There are more benefits to the half leveraged property. There are more benefits, in my opinion, to this one instead of the, where's the one that's the free and clear? Instead of 3, okay? And that's if you make other money elsewhere, okay? If you're in a vacuum and you don't make any money elsewhere, then those are reversed. But if you're making good money, number 8's better than number 3. If you're not, number 3's better than number 8. Number 10, gold, silver, precious metals. Notice most of them came up with those generally in the second half, but pretty much everybody will take precious metals. And what nobody said, and I think it's because of the meeting, Celicia did at the end, I suggest that all of us, I hate to admit it because of the philosophy we do, but damn near every one of us will take number 12 first, right? If someone writes you a paper, like when you go work for a commission, which is what most of us do, what are we doing? We're working for cash with a tax consequence, okay? So we kind of lie to ourselves a little bit on this because we really, if somebody offers us cash, we'll always take it, you know. But, okay, what was 11? Subdividable free and clear land. We all like that in this kind of a group. That's another thing where the difference in New Mexico versus New York, okay? New York, nobody's gonna say free and clear subdividable land, okay? Because that's like a 7-year project. Here in New Mexico, everyone's gonna say, gosh, if I could take that piece of land, cut it up, sell it in little pieces like these fools are buying these little pieces at that price, heck, I'll go ahead and do that. That's great. Number 4, paper notes, deeds of trust. So those are some of my favorites. They make it in the top 5 of everybody, I guess. And to me, that's just currency that bears interest. It's better than money. So anyhow, I can go through all these specifics, but the whole point here is, are these people all the same? Do they have the same wants, needs? Does everyone want the same thing? No. If everyone wanted the same thing, would we be here? No. We couldn't be here because we couldn't do anything because nobody would want something different. So I've thought of a new way, and this is the first time I guess I'm saying it in front of a group. I'm thinking I might, with clients and eventually with NC Interest, create a sort of a universal list here, and maybe about 20 things that generally show up in the meetings. And then we could actually have our clients or ourselves write down this kind of a profile. And this is almost an algorithm for who the person is, okay, for what they desire. And if you say, hey, I've got an 8, okay, I got this thing right here, exactly there. I say, oh shit, Celicia, I need to talk to you because you put me as number 1 on your list, okay? And that's why we do these exercises. And I recommend you do this with all of your clients, always when you get to know them and just meet them, and then talk to them. And the benefit of it is when you talk about these different asset classes, why? Okay? You picked that one, why'd you pick it? And then shut up and let them talk. And by the time you're done with and you need to spend hours with these people, by the time you're done spending a few hours with them, going over these kind of things, you're going to know pretty darn well what they might take when they come to an exchange meeting, in addition to who they are, what the benefits are, and why they may or may not want to do the transaction. Okay, one thing I do with my clients, and it's a little different than most people, I put them on an hourly and a retainer when I first take them on. And to get them to pay me an hourly wage, we can't talk about that part in a group of competitors, but they pay me a wage, and then after I have a success fee, I'll give them back their hourly wages, their hourly fees they've given me. That way, if we go through counseling and we find out that the right thing, Ma and Pa Kettle, is don't sell the farm, lease the oil, okay? You know, Mr. Client, but lease that, you know, do something different. Or don't sell, hang on to it, refinance. Many times the conclusion with the client is hang on to what you got and refinance it. Okay, as a real estate broker, how much of a commission do I make when they refinance? I make nothing, okay? So if I'm putting myself in a position where if I have them make this decision, I get paid, or if I have them make this decision, I don't get paid, and I'm the counselor, guess what happens most of the time? You're going to counsel them in a way that you get paid. By putting the hourly wage there, you take that off the table. And you can now get paid and say, we love you. And guess what's going to happen in the future? Who do you think they're going to come back to when it's time to sell? Are they going to be grateful for what you did for them? They sure will. And they're going to tell their cousin. And within a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, somebody else is going to call you. And you're going to get another client because you did the right thing. So just like your parents told you, always do the right thing. That was just a little exercise to go through here to get everybody thinking and actually to make you wake up and participate. Because guess what? All of you look a lot more awake now than you did about 20 minutes ago. Isn't that amazing how that works? Yeah, so everybody's paying a little more attention. I appreciate it. And anyone want to make any comments, please, all of you guys, you guys have been through this a lot. Anything I forget that you want to make as a point, please bring it up. Okay. We're going to go through some basic slides that I've got from Intro to Equity Marketing for Investors and Exchangers. We're going to start with stuff we know. Basic benefits of real estate. Income, appreciation, depreciation, and amortization. I'm assuming most of us have heard this spiel a little bit before, right? Income, the money you got coming in. If any of you took from Carmela Moss CCIM class, she's great with it. She has all these different expressions. Your whoop out money is how much you put out and all this other stuff. Anyhow, income, cash coming in. Depreciation, we're hoping it's going to sell more in the future. Depreciation is just a tax situation. We can allow to deduct them over time. Amortization is something that people ignore a lot of times, and that's really a huge benefit of real estate, is it pays your debt off over time. Remember, I always say, please don't say what are the benefits and then say it's cash. Cash is not a benefit. Cash can buy benefits, okay? It's not in and of itself. It's a worthless piece of paper with ink on it, okay? It's not in and of itself. What we also want to talk about, so those are the traditional benefits we talk about in the CCIM world or commercial real estate. We just talk about, this is relative to the property, okay? This is what the property does for us. There are also real world benefits, okay? Does the right owner own the property, okay? The Richard Reno, who's the guru, the grandfather of all this stuff, said there are no problem properties, okay? It's always a problem of ownership. The examples we'll give is a brownfield, okay? A contaminated piece of ground, okay? For most of us, that's not a good thing, okay? It's a bad property, it's a problem property, we gotta get out of it. There are guys whose job it is to go get federal money and clean up those kind of properties. That's exactly what they want. They're the right owner. You're not, okay? And that's the most extreme example, but all along the road, there's people, you got the rancher types, you got the, people who are better at being administrators and stuff. Just different kinds of property fit different kinds of people. And what we're trying to do here in this room is find the right owner. We are trying to sell properties and do some of that, but we're really trying to find the right owner. Okay, counseling is a big part of what we do. So what is counseling? Counseling is really just sitting down and asking questions, letting people answer, and then asking why they would do that and going into it. This is a little negative. Sometimes I try not to be too negative, but some clients are easier to counsel than others, okay? We all know we have clients that we like and clients that aren't very easy to work with. Some clients can't be counseled, okay? If they already know everything, you can't teach them anything, okay? So if you have a client who already knows everything, don't work with them, okay? Or else just realize you're doing, it's selling your soul to the devil a little. You're like, okay, this is terrible, but I'm going to get paid money. So realize what you're weighing there. But I'd say just don't work with them. There's so many people out there who need help. There's so many deals to do now. It's just no reason to work with someone who's not nice. Okay, so when a doctor asks the questions of the patient, okay, and you go to a doctor's office, they ask you questions, how smart is it to not answer correctly? Okay? Are you going to get cured if you lie to your doctor? Probably not, okay? The same thing is the case when we've got clients, okay? If they're not capable of telling you the truth, if they're not capable of telling themselves the truth, you're not going to be able to cure them. So go ahead and, spend time out. Go sit in the backyard or something. You're better off doing anything than spending time with them. Why would the clients do this? Why would they tell us? So when I ask them, what are you going to do with the money? Why would they do that? Okay? Why are they going to tell me everything about themselves and their family and the rest? Why are they going to do that? And to illustrate that, I give Ted Blank, gives a really good 7-hour counseling class. If any of you ever get a chance to take it, you need to take it. He gives the example. He says, well, when a gentleman, my age or the age of most of the people in this room, go to the doctor, okay? When we go to the doctor, we take our clothes off and lie down on the table, okay? Having an idea what's going to happen. Why would anybody do that? Okay? No circumstances in the world are any of us guys ever going to do that, ever. Except in the doctor's office, right? Because the doctor's a professional. The doctor's got his white jacket, he's got his degree, he's got everything. There's nothing nefarious And, you know, the doctor's there to help you. He has a Hippocratic oath to do no harm. That's the reason you do it. Why are they going to expose themselves financially to us? Because we're professionals, because they can trust us. They can see a history of helping people. They know you've got their best interest at heart. If they think you're just a salesman, they will not share these things with you, and you won't be successful in this group or in these kind of venues. This isn't for salesmanship. If you've got something that's going to just sell for cash, go out and be a salesman. But that's not what we're talking about here as far as counseling. Alrighty, any questions on the tech blank illustration? Discussing motivations. Okay, we all know that nobody does anything if they're not motivated to do it. Okay, motivations drive the market. Nobody just says, I'm going to sell my house if they don't have some reason that they want to sell their house. Nobody's going to sell their strip center if they don't have some reason. So motivations drive the market. What I want you to do is when your client comes up and asks you to take a listing, before you take the listing, ask them a whole bunch of personal questions about what's going on here. What are we going to do? We also, okay, so in this group, we're going to ask people at the podium to discuss the motivations of their clients. And I know in Colorado law, and I'm pretty sure it's in New Mexico as well, and Arizona and anywhere else we're represented here, we're not allowed to talk about their motivations. We're not allowed to talk about their willingness to sell for anything less than the full price. You know, there's certain rules about that. What you need to do is put in your listing agreement clauses that say, yes, I am allowed to discuss your motivations, including the reasons you want to buy or sell, including your willingness to take something less than the full price in cash, in the context of marketing sessions, for the purpose of getting you a beneficial transaction. We don't just go tell people their personal stuff for no reason. If it's not relevant in this room, we don't share it. If it's relevant to the deal, it needs to be shared. We need to have permission so that we can be allowed to present it. So if you're up here at the podium and you have a listing and you haven't had your client permit you to discuss their motivations, the only real answer a lot of times you're going to be able to say is, I'm going to have to get back to you on that, or some of those things. And that's what I want you to do now if you haven't discussed the motivation. So if in this marketing session, that's the circumstances, either get on the phone and call your client at the break and say, hey, can I just get your verbal permission? Or just don't do just keep that part in the back of your head, make notes about it, but don't talk about things you're not supposed to without permission. Just a general rule we want to do. So, obtain permission to disclose your client's motivations. The whole point of this, discussing benefits sought and motivations leads to more benefits offered, okay? So, you talk about why people are doing something. A lot of times, it says not only are we offering the benefits in the property, we're offering the additional benefits of taking your property at this certain time. So this is just another way to talk about more benefits. If they're really motivated, a lot of times, in the sales market, that means give them a lowball offer. They may be looking for that, and that's absolutely fine. Here are just some questions for you guys to start with a little bit. Okay, why do they want out of title? This is really important. A lot of people don't ask that. I want the money. Well, why do you want to go out of title? I want the money. Why do you want to go out of title? I want the money. Yeah, that's not the answer, okay? We can get you the money with or without going out of title. You want the money, and so you decided that going out of title is the way that you get the money. That's what you're answering, right? And so you really need to find out why. Sometimes it's, I'm moving to Kansas City. Sometimes, there's just different reasons, and we need to find out why they want to go out of title. Next thing that you always have to ask, if I give you your full price in cash, what are you going to do with the money? If this is, like I said, we're not talking about houses you live in. If this is a property held for investment and you do not ask your client what they're going to do with the money when you sell the listing, you probably failed the competence test according to the Real Estate Commission. Because, well, I don't know in here, but generally, if the people pay taxes, and they didn't know they had the option. If they're gonna go buy another property, and they did not know about 1031, you did not do your job, okay? So if you're selling an investment property, all of these are just my opinions. You must ask them what they're gonna do with the money, and you must make them aware that they have alternatives that will be better with after-tax dollars than just selling it for money and paying the taxes. If they say, screw you, I just wanna sell it and pay the taxes, if it's something that's gonna sell for cash, sell it for cash, okay? And that's another thing I want everybody to understand. Most of the deals that I do, 80 or 90% of them end up still being regular traditional deals, okay? They're not all exchanges. A lot of them end up being discount sales, but most of them end up still being traditional deals when it's all said and done, okay? So we have to do our job on each front and make sure that we're getting it done right. Who are they, is what I like to ask, and where are they going, okay? This group doesn't have as huge disparities in age as usually they do, but you know, basically the 30-year-old person and the 70-year-old person, even the same person at 30 and 70, okay, are different people. I know John's commented to me before, he says, shit, when I'm 25 years old, that free and clear subdividable land is my #1 choice, and that's what I do all day long. He's now about 70 years old, that ain't what he's looking to do anymore, okay? So we're different people. So I'd recommend every year or so, if you've got a client who is a long-term client, you bring this thing out again and talk to them about it every year or two and say, how about now? How do you feel about those things now? And the list will change because they're different people. Where are they going? Another thing is why, but where are they going? What are you going to do? Where are you going to be in 10 years? Do you want to have more real estate? You want to have less real estate? Are you retiring? Or are you a young person? What are you going to do? And what benefits do you seek? That's the key, okay? What benefits are you seeking in this transaction? If you can counsel and get the people to really get you that, you can come to an exchange meeting and you can find that set of benefits. And that's the key to what we're doing here. There's an internet out there, and this is the thing I want to get everyone's attention back to Exchangor. If you got something, you got cash, and you want to buy property, we love it when you bring your 1031 cash, and I got millions of it we can bring to the meeting and present, and everyone say, oh, here's my number. Well, there's an internet for that. If you got cash, there's an internet for that, okay? If you're going to sell it only for cash, there's an internet for that, okay? That's not what we're talking about here. Now, if someone comes along and gives you cash offer, great, take it, subject to doing something else with the cash. So Alan Friedman, who's sort of the godfather of the Tucson group, unbelievable guy, would not take cash under any circumstances, okay? If you gave him a full price offer in cash for his property, he would say, I will only accept it subject to my ability to find something to take in lieu of your cash. And then he would go shop with their cash and he'd go buy another property. But, it's important to understand that this is different. This is for people who need different sets of benefits for different reasons. Either not inability to qualify, things like that is where we first start out. Having equities that aren't liquid, things like that are a big part of why people exchange. But also people exchange when money becomes toxic. Okay? When you have such a high tax rate that money is a problem, that's another reason to exchange. Big thing I'm seeing now, and talked to Bill Exeter just yesterday on the phone, or yesterday was reverse 1031s. Okay? How many of you have seen a big uptick in reverse 1031s? Okay, well, yeah. If you haven't noticed because you're not in that arena, but Bill Exeter usually does 1 to 5 a month. He did 12 last week, okay? Why are we doing this? I have a client, here's an example of something not available. We had a KOA campground in Butte, Montana, listed at $3 million. It's under contract right now for $5 million in cash, okay? We listed at $3 million, it's under contract for $5 million, okay? This guy's gotta go find something better than what he's selling, okay? And he's selling a really good asset. So we're going to forward 1031 with him. He's found a property that he liked. Well, that client, here's another client as well. they've been waiting for that buyer for their RV park, but they went and they got one under contract in Washington on a reverse 1031 because they're afraid when we sell this park and have 45 days to identify, we're not gonna be able to find anything better. And so this is another reason to exchange. If you're worried that you can't find something better than you have, and if your client comes to you and says, you know, if you tell people, you go on a listing, you know, deal where you actually are soliciting a person to say, I want to sell your house, or it's not your house, your commercial property, if, you know, I want to sell this for you, and they say, well, my problem is I don't want to pay the taxes, and I don't think I can buy anything better than what I got. What do I, you know, I've got an 8-cap retail center, what am I going to get that's going to be any better than this? There's a reason to exchange, okay? Don't list the thing for sale, list the thing for exchange, take it to an exchange meeting, see if you can buy something with it. In the meantime, go find what they want to buy and go out and make a cash offer. If they've got enough money to buy it ahead of time without selling theirs, great. If they don't, structure the deal and do a reverse 1031, okay? If they've got something you know will sell, have them, help them find what they want to buy before you sell it. You also, oh, by the way, just got another commission, okay? So that's one of the keys to exchanging. You generally, you know, if you're a residential agent, you're selling houses, as soon as you've done a good job for a client, you gotta go find another client, right? Because you did a good job, you gotta go find it. Here we don't, okay? You still got the client, and they're going to the next step, and the next step, and the next step. So this is, you know, get clients for life. You only need 3 or 4 clients, really, and you know, and that's sort of the goal. That's just my. What benefits do they see? We talked about that. Information leads to deals. That's the whole point here. The more information you have, the more likely somebody's going to get it together and put together a deal. Sometimes it's really weird, esoteric information that does it, and who cares? Okay, this is called the Reno form. This is the one on the NCE website that you can go. You're all members of the local group, so you're members, you're affiliate members, and you can go and fill these things out. So I'm going to go over this thing a bit for us as far as what it is. Alrighty, so I'm just going to go over this quickly to discuss how the form works and why we use this form instead of an MLS listing. Alright, the part that we put up here at the top is what you put on your MLS listing, okay? And it ends at city and state. The price, you don't even put the loan on the MLS listing. You only put the price. And what it is, 28 units on the west side of Colorado Springs. So this did sell for its $3 million. So this is gone. So this is just an old package. Anyhow, what is it? 7 ground level brick fourplexes, good area in Colorado Springs. Okay, so we identify what we have, what the price is. The benefits to the new owner. Go ahead and write them out. Income appreciation, depreciation, amortization, tenants and management in place. This is just an apartment complex. It doesn't have a bunch of other, there's no value add, stuff like that. Here are the numbers that are actually actuals. The debt and the rest of it taken care of. Benefits sought. I was just looking for $1 million. This is all taken care of. What I was talking about with the formula. So motivation. I just said very high. That's a very poor description. That's not how you're supposed to do it. Generally motivation, we want to say, some people put a number in there. That's great, except it doesn't really mean anything. It's good to put in why they're motivated. And just to let you know, if you put a 9 or a 10 in there, a 9 means you're pretty much willing to walk away with it, walk away from it for nothing. A 10 means you're willing to give me money to take it from you. So nobody's really a 9 or a 10, as far as that crazy scale that once upon was made by the Reno people and the rest. Can ads. What I was mentioning before, can ads often make the deal, okay? I can give you an example of a package I've got. I didn't bring it. I thought I was only supposed to be 3. I see people brought more than 3, so I didn't know about 3. But I have a package I'm going to present at SEC that's a $900,000 retail center. Free and clear, great client. As a can ad, she has the KOA campground in Kansas City. She's got the RV park from Howard out in Edgewood. She's got a mini storage here in Albuquerque. She's got another $12 million or more worth of can ads. she can add them if you got something worth taking them. And this is what I'll talk later about can ads versus will ads. She's looking to move the retail center, okay? Somebody may say, hey, what I really want is that mini storage in Rio Rancho. And what I've got, and I'll even pick on Howard because he's not here, he's got an $8 million office building in Illinois. And he really wants that. Well, can we make a deal? Maybe. But what he's after is the can ad, not the package. So it's good to put in the can ads what else you have, but try to put things that they will add. So a lot of times, so somebody may have a $100 million shopping center free and clear. It is a can ad, but it's not a will ad because they're never, ever, ever getting rid of it. Remarks. I really like it when people actually write something in the remarks and say what we're trying to do here. So this client is coming from point A and trying to get to point B. Let's talk about what they're doing. It gives just a little bit more meat, because you guys know when you flip through the book and it's blank on it except a few numbers, you're like, here's this kind of a property in this neighborhood. Flip, okay? Because it's just like going through, any Craigslist or one of them, you're just going through listings and you're clicking it. Now when it's got remarks and it talks about the widow's need to move to San Diego, well, now you got something that sticks in your head a little bit. And I just think that kind of stuff's important. All right, packages are not just properties. Packages are sets of benefits. And that's what this before is. Make sure you understand each part of the package form, including the benefits offered, okay? Tell us what you're offering as far as benefits. Pretty is not a benefit. Just like cash. Pretty can end up with benefits, making benefits, but just like cash, it's not a benefit. Know how to input into the system. If any of you have questions, that's another job we'll stick Erica with. She's not in here to defend herself. So, anyhow, if anybody doesn't know how to input in the system, please talk to one of the more experienced members as far as getting it in, because there are a couple of janky things about the website. Provide as much info as you can. Most important, you must have a listing or control. Please don't ever bring a package to an exchange meeting if you don't have an exclusive right to sell listing, or a contract to buy it, or an option, or a leasehold, any of the things that we actually call control. Okay, when I say present the people an opportunity as well as the property, but mostly the benefits. When we do the discussion, generally we talk about the property. This is the order of the moderation. The property, the people, the problem, the opportunity, and the solution or the brainstorm. We should say, problem and opportunity in real estate are synonymous. So some people say situation and doing stuff. But mostly what we care about is the benefits. Why do we want this? Again, we want to know why we want your package, the benefits in your package. We don't care what you want. We want to know why we want yours, and we want that set of benefits. Be prepared to provide backup information. It's good if you have your APOD and everything else, and cash flow analysis worksheet and everything else you got ready to give somebody if they really have interest in the property. I'm terrible with that, so, nobody's perfect. And when you go to the podium, bring your piece of paper with you for a couple of reasons. One, so you can remember what you wrote on the piece of paper. The other is to write down your numbers so that in the future, when you go back to your notebook, you can look at that piece of paper and remember, oh yeah, I forgot to talk to Tom Banner who put his number in on my package. I better give him a call. All right. Can ads are other things that the client owns. So a question, a famous exchanger question is, or it's really a lender question, is what else do you own? Okay? Very important to know. And if someone does a deal, will you contribute that to a deal? It's a can ad, we know, because you told us you have it. Is it a will ad? Meaning, will you actually add it to a deal? Then there's a must take. A must take is a will add that is very insistent. So usually that would be the package itself. It says, I will give you this $1 million, but you must take this $250,000 piece of dirt that I hate. Okay? That would be a must take. And so generally the can ads are gonna drive the way a must-take gets taken care of, because usually it's what else are you gonna give me to take this thing? And this is where I guess I'll give the old bag of dog poo story I tell people. I say poo because I'm trying to be good. Is, you know, if I got a bag of dog poo and I say, hey man, you know, Rick, you want it?
No.
Then no, I don't want it. Okay, but then if I reach in my pocket and I take a $50 bill to that bag of dog poo and I head over to you, you're probably gonna take it, aren't you? Yeah. He didn't want the bag of dog poo. He wanted the $50 bill I had to take to him to get him to take it. And he's just gonna take it and he's gonna throw it away. Now I could certainly throw it away, and you know, it's a poor example because I could just throw it away. But my whole point is, you know, like I said, why'd you lie to me, Rick? You know, you said you didn't want that bag of dog food. You do, because you want the $50 bill, right? Yeah. And so, anybody, you know, when we have a must-take, undesirable property, that's the best thing for a person who wants money, or best thing for a person who needs an opportunity or a job, is what are they going to give you to take that? And if somebody takes a $50 bill to a bag of dog poo, everybody in the room takes it, okay? And so, if you're in the business of distributing bags of dog poo, you know the formula, right? And so sometimes we might end up with a subdivision out in the desert that might kind of seem a lot like a whole bunch of those bags, okay? Because nobody's going to want it right now. But someday it's going to have value, and really it's what else you're going to add to it. So that's just sort of the key to exchanging, and or some of those kind of deals with the can ads. Sometimes the will out can drive the deal. Cash always makes a great can ad. Whether you're willing to spend it or not, you can, okay? So you go, if you got $500,000 sitting in the bank, go ahead and put $300,000 as your can ad. You're probably not going to spend it unless you really find something that you want to take the money out of your savings account and go buy. But you can. And so again, you might find the person with that, you know, with what you want, and that you can basically bribe them with money. And you can always create paper to add to a deal. So how many people, when I say the term create paper, say, what the hell are you talking about? There, thanks Scott for saying what the hell are you talking about. So we can write promissory notes and deeds of trust, okay? We need to be a principal, so us as brokers, we need to be mortgage lender to actually write them, unless it's our own thing. But basically, anytime we want to, we can create debt against anything we have and give somebody a promise to pay secured by that thing that we have. And we can add that to any deal, okay? So if you've got 100,000 equity in a duplex that's got 200,000 debt that's worth 300,000, you can always create paper against that equity. You may not want to because you think you're over leveraging, but you can always do it. So that's just what I want to say, is that you can always create paper as a candidate. So when we get to the deal and you can't balance the equities and you need $50,000 more, please just create paper against one of the properties that's involved in the transaction, and then you'll get the deal done.
Hey Blake, I got a question for you.
Yes.
Since you've created a lot of paper in your career, what terms is the most attractive for an investor?
That's the, so James asked in creating paper, what terms are the most attractive? That's sort of the, my smart ass answer is, how long is the piece of rope? Right? To not be facetious about it, what I generally do is I make 6% interest only notes because they're real easy to debt service and the math's real easy. And if people say, I don't like 6%, okay, well, shoot. How about 11? You like 11? Is that really like 11? Okay, so if we do a 6% note for 2 years and we discount it 10%, we can give you an 11% yield for 2 years. So that makes that paper that's not written as pretty more pretty, right? Because you bought it at the right price. So what is most attractive paper? You haven't finished one, 24%, 10-year amortization, you know, but nobody's going to pay that. So the lender always wants more, and the borrower always wants less. And so it's going to be a balance in between. And you are going to find now where you couldn't before, where you will get people to take notes at bank type 2, 3, 4% rates, which never used to happen. but you'll also find people willing to give 14, 16, 18% notes under certain circumstances as well. So it's what's appropriate for the deal. Probably the best note is one that's got a good debt service coverage ratio, has a good signature, has a good piece of property, and makes sense. Because if it's too high interest, it's probably less secure. It's probably not as good. So a lower interest rate sometimes is a better note, just because of the cash flow debt service. So, but that's a great question, because it's exactly like the value perception chart. We could send out a thing with terms on notes, and everybody in here probably come with a little bit different as far as what they thought was best. Because like Glenn next to you, Glenn might decide has something, he wants a balloon in 5 years. He may decide he's gonna live a long time. He needs 20 years of regular retirement money, And it just depends on what Glenn needs or wants with it as far as making it more desirable to him. And this is why we communicate, okay? And there's a perfect example of, Glenn's a person who needs to decide what he wants, and let you know, and then if you structure it, it'll work. Yes, Frank?
I'm sure you put it on, I know you do, on vacant land,
course.
non-performing asset, and you like keep an LTV that real low, so the taker isn't that nervous about it?
Well, there's also the personal guarantee, okay? The collateral is one aspect of it, but there's also the personal guarantee. So the collateral, when you're talking about a piece of land that doesn't have income, what's the loan to value is what's going to matter. If it's a 50% loan to value and you personally guarantee it and you have enough income to make the debt service, most anyone's going to take it. And in fact, some people might take it and say, well, hell, I hope he defaults.
Right.
Don't do it that way, because if they know ahead of time that that's why you did it, then they don't owe you money, okay? The penalty for predatory lending is forgiveness of debt, okay? So don't ever lend intending to get the property. Just get the property, okay? just tell them you want to buy it and take it back directly. But yeah, I very often, in fact, I have $1,250,000 note I'm offering on secured by $2.3 million worth of land, 6% interest only, and yeah, that's something that I do on a regular basis. So that's a good way of acquiring land as well, is with paper. And yeah, we'll go through some other formulas that I have for dealing with land and paper. But yeah, when you're talking land, it's going to be loan to value. When you're talking income property, it's going to have to do with the income. In any event, it's generally the personal guarantee. If somebody wants non-recourse and they're not an IRA, wonder, okay? IRAs have to have non-recourse. Individuals don't. If somebody's not willing to personally guarantee the note, just my own personal feeling, just don't do it. I know that goes against what they teach you in making an LLC inside of an LLC class.
Say that again, on the paper you create.
Yeah, on the paper I create, I give a personal guarantee.
Okay.
And I'd also request that unless it's an IRA or some reason it has to be non-recourse like a trust, otherwise the personal guarantee is the value. The collateral is just the extra thing you get.
I got a reason for asking you that.
Why?
Because I'm going to present a deal to you.
Okay, good. Identify takers. Okay, that's why we're here. Okay, the primary reason that we come to meetings is to identify takers for our client's property. Now, I would say our client, sometimes we can be the client. I'm my client part of the time. But the goal is to find takers for your property. This is the primary function of meetings. Who can find a way to take this property under some terms and conditions, okay? Back to the bag of dog poo, okay? Who's going to take it and under what terms and conditions? I bet if I went in here and did a Dutch auction, I bet I could get rid of that bag of dog poo for $1, right? Because people are going to say, yeah, 50, I'll take 40, I'll take 30, I'll take 20, 10, hell, I'm just taking it to the trash can. So, anyhow, who can find a way to take the property under some terms and conditions? I get a little side talking about. If you've got a piece of land, for instance, like Frank's talking about, how can you take this? And well, I can't take it with a note or with cash because it's not making any money, and I don't, it's just currency. It's just going to sit there and hold its value. But how could I take a piece of currency? Like if I had a bunch of money that I couldn't spend, well, shoot, I can take it for something that I've got. So how could I take Frank's piece of land? Well, I got a bunch of houses and duplex in Belleville, Illinois I don't want. And I got some equity in there. if Frank brings the money for the rest of it, I'll take that piece of land. That's how I can be a taker for that piece of land that I wasn't looking at. So, once again, every single property, we need to ask, who can find a way to take this under certain terms and conditions? And I would put it out there, it's a little philosophical, but everyone can take every property under some terms and conditions. So every property that's presented here has 50 takers under some terms and conditions. Now, John McFadden said the only way I take that, you give me $1 million in gold bullion. That's his answer. He's still a taker if you give him $1 million in gold bullion with it. Okay, so it's, let's just go ahead and say, they're ridiculous. If the offers are ridiculous that you're getting, maybe your presentation is, we should not care what they're takers with or why. The first step is to find a taker, okay? So if somebody comes and says, Frank, I'll take your piece of land, you say, hallelujah. How do we go to contract? And they say, yeah, well, you're gonna have to buy these places in Belleville. And he said, oh man, my guy won't do that. But I'm still gonna go ahead and say we're gonna accept this, subject to finding something in lieu of what you offered me. So now Frank's got a piece of land, but guess what else he gets to bring to the Albuquerque meeting? He'll get to bring a whole bunch of houses in Illinois and say, hey, can I find a taker for these? If I can find a taker for these, and now he does have control because he's got an agreement. If I can find a taker for these, I get to close 2 deals. And with yours, 3. And so we're getting a multiple leg. Once we've identified 1 or more potential takers, we can get to work, okay? And that's when the work begins, it's not when it ends. We go to these meetings, we get the taker, we get started, then we go put together the deal. Many times the deal doesn't close looking like it did when you brought it up at the meeting, okay? But it does get started, and that's when we get to work. Glenda had asked me a question I wanted to talk to people a little bit about. She asked, why would that RV park in Butte, Montana be under contract for $5 million when it was listed at $3 million? And I'd say, welcome to 2021. Because that's what's happening, is RV parks are up probably 30 or 40% in value in the last year or so, because their revenues are just off the charts. If you saw the revenues a few years ago and you said they were going to be like this, you'd be a liar, okay? Because it's amazing. They've raised their rates, their occupancy and their bookings are just crazy. The places are full. The one, an example, one I don't have listed in Manitou Springs, they charge $90 a night to park your RV, okay? $90 a night. It's because the hotel room is $189 in town now, whereas both of those numbers used to be half of that, and it's not anymore. And so, will this last? We don't know, probably not, but where does it rest when it levels off? Since we're early in it, it's probably still going to be okay, but yeah. We think we're the beginning of filling a bubble on RV parks, in my opinion, because they're really taking off like crazy. And it's not bad yet, but I have a feeling people will, in the next few years, be paying more than they should for RV parks. But the real reason on the Butte, Montana one, just to let you know, the city in all is putting in about $100 million, $130 million in the river stuff around it, including these places where you can kayak and all that kind of stuff. So there's a real upside on that one, and that's why but yeah, it's literally, we're talking 60% over asking price on an RV park. I never thought obviously some fool priced it too low, so, right? But it worked, thank God. So, anyhow, alrighty. I left the identify takers because that's the most important thing we do. When we get back to the value perception, guess what? You guys are all takers. You just, have to suck it up and say, yeah, I am a taker. But it's based on your preferences. Here we get to another one of the old Exchangor slides that we've all seen 100 times. And too bad Weaver's not in here because he's seen this 1,000 times. I really like this slide. It's a real old one. How else can you expand the market for your property? Ask yourself, can I accept something other than cash for my equity? This is what you need to talk to your clients about, especially if it's not selling. So, a caveat I always tell people, and I have to repeat it over and over again, if you can sell it for cash and get enough cash to buy the next thing you want and do a regular 1031, sell it for cash, okay? When that's not the case, we do other things. There are always more takers in the marketplace with notes and or equity than cash buyers, okay? As you read down the chart, each step downward increases the number of people who can add and will take your property. My favorite part of this slide is potential takers can disappear in smoke because of sellers' inflexibility. If someone says, I'm a taker for your property, and they're going to give you something and you don't want it, if you say no, it's all over. It's done. Okay? Don't do that. Say yes, subject to finding something else instead of what you offered me, because what I've found is the only thing I'm looking for, and that's you, a taker. Okay? So for a given property, there's a certain number of people here who are going to jump up and write a check for cash. A lot of us will say, hey, if you sell or carry it, or if I can write a note and buy it, there's a lot more of us that will buy it. If you'll also take that thing that my client's looking to get rid of, there are a lot more people who are going to be takers for your property if you're a taker for their property. If you're geographically flexible, for instance, if you'll go to Maryland, okay, if you'll go all around the country, you'll find it a lot easier to get deals done. And look at what happens if you add cash or notes to your equity. That's what used to be known as buying your way out of a property, okay? If you add enough cash to anything, somebody is going to buy it, okay? So if, so I'm going to pick on Frank's piece of land. So Frank's got a $100,000 free and clear piece of land out in the desert. It doesn't look much different from the other pieces of land. His client, I present a $2 million property. He says I'm a taker for it. I go to my client and I said, hey, Frank's a taker for it. He's got this piece of land in the desert. If I let my client say no, I'm an idiot, okay? Because what they're talking about is he's talking about bringing $1.9 million in money, a $100,000 piece of land. Well, heck, a good portion of that land already belongs to the brokers if we want to take it, but pretty much anybody will take that piece of land. And maybe subject to doing something else with the land, and we've got to go find something else. But don't say no to a taker because you don't like what they have. Because they're going to have to give you something else in order to get it from you. Yes, Frank?
It actually was a $20,000 lot ready to build and $200,000 cash, and I couldn't give it away.
Yeah, well, you could right now if you need to. Yeah. So yeah, so he had a $20,000 piece of land and $200,000 cash. He said he couldn't give it away. Yeah, you can give it away now, because there are plenty of people in this room. We'll write a note for it, or we'll give you a piece of property for it, because we don't want that piece of land. We want the $200,000 in cash. Okay, the piece of land is a must-take, and that must-take will go. And heck, we may trade it at a cowboy auction and get ourselves a car or something for it. Who knows? All right, anyhow, I just wanted to put this slide up. This is another one that, like all this stuff, I didn't write this stuff. This stuff's been around for decades, and there are a lot wiser people than I am who put this together. But this is the essence of exchanging and getting more takers. All right, I love this one. I see a young man, my townsman, whose misfortune it is to have inherited farms, houses, barns, cattle. For those are more easily acquired than got rid of. That's the essence of real estate. Real estate is much more easily acquired than got rid of, okay? It's hard to sell real estate. It's so hard that a client will pay me a commission to pay you a commission to bring a buyer to buy their property, because it's really hard to sell property. You wake up in the morning and say, I want to sell property. Guess what you do? You go, you put it out there and you tell everybody about it. If you wake up in the morning and say, I want to buy property, guess what happens? You buy property. Okay, so it's easier to buy than it is to sell. Why would we not always buy? Okay, why would we put ourselves through the trouble of selling when we can always buy? Okay, when I say that, I mean when you're selling something, you're really buying a different set of benefits with that property, okay? So, you don't want the cash. You say you're gonna sell it for cash, but you're gonna buy something else with the cash. Go buy something else with the property, okay, is what I'm saying. And if they won't take it, we can find somebody to buy the property from and make it work. That's the, for you Denver guys, the John Richardson story I'll tell you. I don't know if I've told you guys this before. John Richardson's an exchanger for a long time. He used to work for my dad. If my dad ever knew about these groups, he never told me about it. And I think he just did these kind of deals himself forever. But John Richardson had a lot. This is about probably 70 in Denver, maybe 72 or something. In Denver, he had a lot and he wanted to buy a house. He went to every broker in Denver and he couldn't find anybody who could work with him to get a house with his lot. And this is in the time when you had FHA non-qualifying assumable loans. So, and I was like, oh my God, this is easy. We just go put the lot down on a house with an FHA non-qualifying assumable loan, and we'll just buy the lot back. And oh my goodness, how easy is that? And John Richardson did that and then did it again and again, and he was an exchanger for 40-something years. So there's just an example. It's nothing new. People have been doing it forever, but it's hard to sell. It's easy to buy. I'm Jason Dillard, an exchanger from South Carolina, a real creative guy. Says everyone presenting at a marketing session is really just placing an order on behalf of their client. Okay, if you're going out there and you say, I want to sell it for cash, you're ordering, saying, I want to order $2 million in cash to be delivered to my client, and I'll give you a deed. Okay? When you go up to the podium, you're saying, hey, I don't want what I got, we want something different. So we're placing an order. The job of us is, do we have the restaurant to fulfill that order? Okay, can we answer that need? Because if we can, we're going to make money. So you want to identify what are the benefits sought, and what are the benefits being offered, okay? I always focus the benefits sought not nearly as important as the benefits being offered, but when the benefits sought are something other, that's when we bring it to the marketplace. The benefits being offered, we present to everybody. Okay, without asking questions and assembling the information, how can you possibly do this? And the answer is you can't. You have to counsel the people in order to know what the benefits sought are, what the benefits offered are, and to do the whole process. And the bottom part, this is more for the NCE thing, is have respect for the room, okay? Know your stuff. Don't waste people's time. We have a group here of about 40 brokers. I would say the average experience is easily 20 years, okay? So you've got 800 years of experience here in this room. Respect it, it'll help you. Another thing I tell you, like when we go to the national meeting, you've got a 6-minute presentation, you've got 110 brokers. That's 660 broker minutes you're spending. That's 11 hours of a broker's time you're spending when you stand up at the podium. Think about it and make sure what you present up there is relevant and is going to get a deal done. And the focus is to get a deal done. So that's just my nagging, because I've been nagging to do the same thing. Okay, now we're switching gears a little. What is a formula? Okay? A formula is a way to get a deal closed. That's pretty much all it is. Okay? Any set of circumstances, easiest formula is lowering or raising the price. Or actually, the formula itself is selling for cash. Okay? We all know that formula. We all know sell or carry. Okay? Most brokers know. I have to say I had a local broker in my marketplace recently. I had a piece of land. I offered it out there for cash or for carry. I said sell or carry. She tells me she's been licensed 20 years. She did not know what a sell or carry was. Okay? And it's because residential people, and it's right, they should be trained not to do that. But we do have people who've been licensed 20 years who don't know that. So just be aware and help educate people. Exchanges often involve combinations of formulas. So when we use a note in a deal, we're combining a lot of times a sell or carry with another exchange formula. Remember, necessity is the mother of invention. Okay, if you can do it easily, do it. If you can't do it easily, still do it. Okay? You're a public servant. You have a duty to serve the public. And sometimes to get paid. That's how my dad taught me, is the state gives us a license to serve the public, sometimes we get paid. It's our duty to make sure we get paid. It's our job to make sure we get paid. It's our duty to serve the public. Okay, so if it's not easy, don't just say, I don't want to do it because it's not easy. Go ahead and go that extra mile and use the formula and get it done. Because we can all just put stuff in the MLS and sell them for cash. And if we all wanted to do that, there's not a single person should be in the room. And so we're all here because we don't. All right, so here's a formula with a picture. This will get you excited, okay? Here's trying to get everybody a little lively. I had somebody draw a cartoon for me with color, so this is a big thing. People who know me would think it's a big thing. Anyhow, in this, the second formula in the Bob Steele book, the first one being an unpriced listing. So Bob Steele is one of the people who's been doing this exchanging forever, about with Richard Reno for 60 years. He's got a book, 300 Ways to Buy, Sell, or Trade Real Estate. And there are a number of books like that. Royce Ringsdorf had one of the 100 Ways. Anyhow, most of them have as one of the first or second formulas the creation of wealth formula. And I went ahead and made a little cartoon for it so people can understand what this is, okay? And what we do here, okay? On the left, you've got a house that is worth $250,000, okay? This, I should change the numbers now, but you got a little house worth $250,000. It's got $100,000 of debt. What you or your client wants is the $400,000 fourplex across the street or next door or whatever. Let's say it's next door because you want to keep the house. You want this, but you don't want to sell that, okay? Normally in an exchange, we just say, hey, I'll give you my $250,000 house. I'll go get a new loan for the difference, and I'll take your fourplex, and you can sell my house if you want or whatever. No, we don't want to sell the house. We want to create a bigger portfolio. That's what we're talking about with creation of wealth. We want to buy the $400,000 fourplex. So what do we do to do it? We just create, and you can, in Colorado we're lucky, we have a state-approved promissory note and deed of trust, so I can literally just get on my computer and type it up. You've got attorneys here that can do it. Well, you guys have a real estate contract, which is a similar thing. I don't want to get into that to confuse you, but basically we can write a note and deed of trust, have a lawyer do it however you need to do it. It's an IOU, basically. So you go and you say, hey, Mr. Seller of the $400,000 fourplex, can I give you a $100,000 note as a down payment, and then go bring $300,000 from a new bank loan? If I gave you that, would you do the deal? Okay? Assuming we find somebody who says, yeah, I like that deal. Because what does this guy get, okay? This guy or gal, I should not be such a sexist, is this person has a property that they're selling for $400,000. They got on the market to sell for $400,000. They probably didn't pay $400,000 for it. They probably owned it for a while. What we're offering them is $300,000 of cash, and then monthly payments, and then get paid another $100,000, okay? If you explain it to the clients that way, if their broker can explain it to them, they'll get it. Yes, Stephen?
Banks in first place?
Bank's in first position. So you can go to a bank and say, hey, banker, will you give me a 75% loan to value on this fourplex? They say, fine. Okay, some banks may say, oh, we don't recognize your note as a down payment. You can put cash down and buy the cash back if you need to, okay? There's an opportunity for somebody to make $1,000 on flash cash or something like that for a period of time if you needed to. But we'll assume the person will take the note because that's the kind of benefits they're looking for, and that the bank understands. And when you write the contract, you can basically call it proceeds, depending on how you want. We can go into the details there, but the bottom line is the bank needs to recognize a $100,000 down payment. They're probably going to require an appraisal, and now you'll have a $300,000 new loan, okay? So you still have the original house, not the one you lived in, okay? And well, I guess it could be the one you lived in if you can find somebody who'll take the note. But this house, little rental house you've got that now. It's got an existing debt of $100,000, but guess what? It now has another $100,000 of debt. Now you've taken this little house from 40% leverage up to 80% leverage, okay? This property here that you now have has a $300,000 new debt, but it does not have, that second note's not really there. You only owe $300,000 on it, okay? So, you started with the house and the fourplex, you did a down payment, 1,000 new note, 3,000 new debt. So you started with 150,000 equity in the house, and you ended with 150,000 equity. 50,000 still in that little attic, and 100,000 of it's here. Okay? We call it creation of wealth, but did we create any equity here? No. We didn't create equity. We acquired more property, and we spread our equity out. How did we pay for it? And here, literally, we paid for it with notes, but really, in the philosophical world, we paid for it with risk. Okay? What happened to our risk in this situation? We went from one house with a 40% debt. So let's say that we were all alive in 2008. Let's just pretend we were all alive in 2008. What happened in 2008? That value, that 250, went down to 125, okay? That 400 went down to 200, okay? When that happens, was this a good idea? No. My favorite Spinal Tap line is, it's a fine line between clever and stupid, okay? The fine line between clever and stupid moves when the market crashes, okay? So it's not a miracle doing this. It's taking risks to build a portfolio. You're paying for that creation of wealth with additional risk. One definition of profit is payment for risk, okay? And so here, that's how you're doing it. But the bottom line is, I don't want to detract from the wonderful beauty of this. Any property you own and you want to keep, that you have a significant amount of equity, and if you want to roll the dice, you can borrow more money this way without going to a bank, by just creating a debt, and then you go and buy something with it. And you are rolling the dice, okay? We all believe in real estate. We all believe it appreciates. That's why we're doing this. Sometimes it doesn't. I just want everybody to be aware why is this not just happening all the time? Well, the eventual situation is you'd have all debt and no equity. Okay, if you just kept doing it. And that's not going to be good either. So, in the right circumstances, with the right situation, this is a great formula. Did they exchange property? No. They exchanged a note and cash for a piece of property. They bought a piece of property. Still an exchange formula because it's a way of making a real estate transaction, or still a real estate formula, and it's one of the oldest ones, and it's worked real well. And it's got all kinds of different ramifications. Any questions on that? All right. Now I'm going to try to confuse you all, or I will. Hopefully not. So a thing that I've gotten to where I specialize in is a thing called 1031 paper. Okay, this is, now again, most of my transactions still close the regular way. A lot of this is setting up deals and getting to work. But what I'm talking about here is, the first thing I discuss when I discuss this is point out that there's stuff in our pocket that has the presidents on them, right? What is this stuff, right? We call it cash and all, but what is it really? These are promissory notes from the Federal Reserve, okay? They're promising to pay us. And the person at the bar, that's an IOU from Uncle Sam, the person at the bar will take an IOU from Uncle Sam and give you a drink. It's the miracle of America and the world. This paper fiat currency that we created, we all believe in it. I absolutely believe in it too. The full faith and backing of the U.S. government. It's very strong. But it's just a promissory note. And so any rules that apply to cash, by definition, apply to promissory notes because cash is a promissory note. So let's start, instead of using depreciating green promissory notes with presidents on them, let's go ahead and use promissory notes with our signature on them and that bear interest and that have actual real security in real estate. If the government were to default, we all have a problem, okay? We will not get recourse for those bills if the government were to default. Now, we all are Americans, we don't think that'll ever happen, but if you default, if I default, you get to take my property, okay? If the government defaults, we don't get to take their property. So I would propose that interest-bearing promissory notes are better and worth more if you have enough money to pay your bills, but again, the person at the bar will not take them, and they won't give you a drink for it. You know, except they maybe give you a drink for the story. But anyhow, let's show you what 1031 paper is. So I've got and this is the beginning slide of the whole process. I'm just going to go over the first one. But I have a property, and I want to buy a different property. And I come, and I'm going to say, hey, I want to do a 1031. I want to sell my first property, just like the regular 1031 slide, okay? I just want to sell my property, I want to take some money, and I want to go buy this other bigger property, and I'm going to get you a new loan. So here we'll pretend this is a $100,000 office condo, and this is a $400,000 fourplex, again, just because it's easy, okay? And I take it to a marketing session, or I take it out to the MLS or whatever, more like a marketing session, and I get somebody who says, I want to give you, 25 grand down in cash, or the example I use a lot of times, a $25,000 RV as a down payment, and then I want you to carry the financing. And you say, well, shit, that's not what I want to do. I don't want that. I want this thing over here, okay? But guess what I got? I got a taker, right? And what did I tell you you don't do when you get a taker, right? You don't say no. You say yes, okay? Yes, if. Okay, yes, I will take your $25,000 RV and your $75,000 seller carry note you want me to carry. I'll take that if I can get the guy across the street with that fourplex to take your $25,000 RV, take your first note, and I'll go bring a new loan for $300,000. If we can get him to do that, absolutely, I'll take your RV and you'll get this little house, okay? So you go over to Mr. Seller and you say, Mr. Seller, if I gave you $300,000 in a new loan, then I give you $75,000 first loan secured by a house that pays interest and it's good, and I threw in this $25,000 RV. Is there any reason you wouldn't do that deal? Okay? We'll just pretend now we get the right person who says, for goodness, $300,000, I paid $200 for it, I got $100 grand in my pocket, I got a $75,000 note, paying me $375 a month, and shit, I got this RV. Why don't I drive it to Disney World and back, and then drive it into the ocean? Okay? Because hell, I would have sold it for $375, right? So brokers need to get paid. In this case, it's easy. We get paid out of that cash, and that part's easy. But what have we accomplished here is the person who brought the RV got their house. The person with the house, or with the little office condo, got the fourplex, and everybody's happy. And so this is the basic of 1031 paper. Well, how does that work? Because you got two transactions here. So the title to the RV or the $25,000 cash. The title of the RV is a good way to say it. And the paper, the seller carried first note and deed of trust that we just wrote, will not be written out to Mr. Seller. It will be written out to Mr. Seller's qualified intermediary for the benefit of Mr. Seller. Okay? So he's not going to take that. Qualified intermediary will take that paper. Qualified intermediary will take the title. At the closing of the fourplex, the bank will bring a new loan for $300,000. The qualified intermediary will deliver that note assigned now to the buyer, or to the seller of the fourplex. So they'll now say, pay to the order of seller 2, okay? And they're going to get that title back in a little title card. Will have gone from the person to the qualified intermediary to the other person, okay? And I didn't even think about until now, hopefully they all do it as one transaction so that the stupid DMV doesn't get paid twice. Okay, but that's another thing. Technically, the DMV, right, could get paid twice on that because you sold it twice. But anyhow, but bottom line is the qualified intermediary is going to hold all that stuff. You do not want the note written out to you, because as soon as that note's written out to you and they signed it, guess what?
Tax.
It's taxable. That's collective receipt. You could take that note somewhere and get money for it. As soon as you have that, 1031's over. Okay, so they need to pass it for you. You don't touch that paper. Okay? And this is the first step of the 1031 paper process. I don't think I put the others on there. Okay, yeah. So what happens is this can just keep going. So say this person doesn't want the RV, they want $1 million retail center. We just keep doing the same thing over and over again. At the end, as brokers, we can take that $75,000 note and that $25,000 RV. We have to flip a coin to who gets stuck with the RV, but we as brokers will end up earning that. So it's just a catalyst. So it'll never be part of it. So I can go over that later, but I don't want to bore people with it now. I have on our 1030, so on YouTube, we've got a 1031 paper channel. This is what Asher does. He puts a lot of content out there. We've got a full class, however many, I don't remember how long it was, 3-hour class, I think, at NCE, just on 1031 paper. Okay, so if you want to watch that video, that will help you with that. Alrighty, so any questions on that? So this is basically, I'm building up a marketplace doing this. This is the gist of what I do now a lot of the times, is 1031 paper. So if any of you are coming to circumstances where you need this formula, I'm happy to co-op with you, because if your license law is like ours, you can't do something unless you have some expertise in it. All of you now have a relative amount of expertise in it. Once we've done a deal, you're ready to go and help everybody out in the marketplace with the same kind of deals. Okay, and it's a little complicated, but it works. It's very effective. So I don't want to dig too much into that. So what did I put back down? Okay, guess why I put this in? You saw this slide before, right? Why do you think I put it in twice? Because it's important. Once we find the taker, we can go to work. Let's see what else we got in us. You always want to ask more questions, okay? When you're watching a presentation at the podium, instead of picking up your phone or checking your email, and unless it's one you've seen 100 times, going to the bathroom, things like that, instead of doing that kind of stuff and finding out your own selfish thing, living in your own world, ask myself, how can my client be a taker for what is being offered? Okay? And how can the taker take it? So, with this taker taking, like I said, I don't want to get too far afield with this. If the taker is offering you something, what are they looking for? Okay? And what if you don't want it? Okay? So, what are they really looking for, and what are they offering? Because now, as I was getting in Frank's example, you may not want what they want, what they're offering. You're going to see if you can find something else in lieu of it. So you can go market that property as well as trying to find a taker for it, because that'll close your deal. Or there might be a third leg in the room for what is being offered. How many people here, well, I guess I aren't even asked. Some of you may or may not know what we refer to as a third leg. Okay, a third leg, when we have an exchange and we have these same circumstances, you've got a fourplex and somebody offers you a piece of land down and your client says no, okay? How do we make that work, okay? So, what is the client really looking for is what we're going to find out, okay? And if what they're looking for is satisfied partially by the cash, yet they have this piece of land, that's what they're going to use to go to the next leg, okay? That's called a third leg. In that example, if we can find a taker for the piece of land, that's the third leg of the transaction. We get 3 legs we put together. A lot of times you can find it by, you can sell or carry that land now, okay? Because maybe the taker, or maybe the person doesn't want the land, but they take a note on the land, okay? So if you find a taker for the land with financing, well, the other people, you know, it wasn't really what you desired, you wanted something else, that will work, okay? Now when they go to the marketplace, if they still don't want the paper, they've got paper instead of cash to offer. More people generally want paper than cash. So this is just a way to use third legs to make it work. So anytime we have here where someone gets a taker and they don't want it, please look for third legs. And so what we done generally with the presentations is so, you know, Frank presents something and John puts his number out and he's got a package number on it, okay? So you now go to John's package and you look and see who offered on his package, okay? And you try to find some way to assemble the deal, put the deal together if your person isn't a taker for theirs. Because ideally, everybody would have identified some takers for their property by the end of the meeting. And so when we go to a national meeting, we have this whole list of numbers, and so that's sort of the way we do it. I hope that's not too confusing. Who has questions about the third leg thing that I kind of mocked up for you? Everybody understands that?
If you put enough legs on it, you can be the taker.
Yeah.
And
Right, so what Rick's point, and that's what I said before, if we put enough legs in the deal, the broker can usually take the smallest first property for a fee, okay? And that's a lot of times how these things end up closing. So nobody wanted the piece of land. Rick might end up with a piece of land, okay? Because that's the way the deal works. Okay, now another thing when we talk about motivations, if Rick or I or some other broker in here just took that land for their fee, how motivated do you think they are? Do you think they might discount that for cash? So you probably found a nice creative way to get a piece of land cheap. So if somebody knows getting a $100,000 piece of land for their commission, offer them 50 grand cash for it. When it's a commission, you know, you might sell a $100,000 piece of land for the $50,000 because you thought you were wanting to get the cash from a commission, earned income anyhow. You were planning on cash with a tax consequence. Okay, so if you have to take something else, you can sell that for a discount. Another thing I ask all the time with the clients is this a need or a want? It's important to know the difference. If they really need to do it, they shouldn't be very picky. If they've got a really good situation, they just want to do something, that's very different. So just know with the clients whether it's really a need or a want. If they really need to do the deal, you should have to be a little more aggressive and work a little differently than if it's just something they want to do. And that's a little nebulous, but forgive me. Okay, just for the nuts and bolts of this, when the presentation is over, we call for numbers. If you are even casually interested, call out your number, okay? Because you may have an idea or a thought. If you think it would work for a particular package, please call out the number with the package number, okay? So each of us has different packages, 1, 2, 3 kind of thing. Say the package you're interested in with a package number. That when the people go back to the client, they can actually take the package out and say, this is what they offered, or this is what they're interested in. So that's a taker. So the first one's interested, the second one's a taker, and the third one is a super taker. So a super taker is the person ready to do the deal there. So if they're the principal in the room or they have permission from their client to do a deal, you can do a deal right now. So for instance, myself, I'm a principal on some things. If we put together a deal, or if I see something on the super taker, I say I'm a super taker, I can have you an offer written from my computer within 20 minutes or something. We can sign stuff up and be under contract when we leave the meeting. So that's kind of the beauty of doing that. All right. I went over this a little bit, sorry. What is the third leg? We talked about this. How does it work? So the in lieu clause, always, in my opinion, accept the offer subject to finding something else in lieu of what they offered you. You can always write language in there. You have the right to terminate. If they don't give you, if you can't find something in lieu of what they're offering that you find acceptable, then, you know, it's not going to happen. But this gives you another way to make it work. Now, what happens, you know, the thing that people might worry, so you've got a contract subject in lieu, someone comes with a cash offer, full price, buy the property. guess what's probably gonna happen? You're probably not gonna, the trade's probably not gonna happen that way unless they don't want the cash, okay, which is a good thing to always ask if that happens, so. Does this really work? The bottom line is yes, okay? When I talk about statistically, and I've talked to some different people, I know Steve and I have talked about it, if you try to go through the book and do hypothetical matches for equities and say this one matches with this one, matches with this one, every deal has less than 100% chance of success, as we know, and if you, which is a number less than 1, and if you multiply a bunch of numbers less than 1 by each other, what does the math teach? What happens if you multiply a bunch of numbers less than 1? What happens to the number? It gets smaller, it just shrinks down, and your chances of success goes to nothing, okay? So a hypothetical 6 or 8 leg exchange is darn near impossible. But does it really work? Of course it does, because what we have with the 2-legged exchange waiting for the 3-legged or the 3-legged waiting for the 4th leg, it cannot close without the other leg. So now that extra one actually statistically increases the chance of success, okay? So if they're not artificially drawn up, these things really make things work, okay? If they're artificially drawn up, it's a little tougher. But yeah, it works, yes.
One other thing you need to consider is when you start those legs, what you're doing is you're adding other brokers that help you make that deal.
Right, yeah, what Rick said, and it absolutely is, when you're adding legs, you're adding brokers, okay? And if you're adding a guy like Rick, how many years have you been licensed, Rick?
Since 75.
So however many years it's been since 1975 is how long Rick's been licensed, okay? And so that's a lot of experience just by getting Rick in as a leg of a deal, okay? If you get 4 of these people in this room, you're gonna have, you know, darn near 200 years experience working on your project. It's gonna close, okay? Because do you do deals not to close?
So what?
You don't do deals with the intention of not closing.
Oh, absolutely not.
Right, so we all get them done. Okay, the numbers. How can the numbers help me track 3rd legs? Like I said, when somebody offers you on your property with something that you don't want, you immediately open the book to their package and see who offered on what they have, and see if you want any of that. If you can find somebody who's got something you want in 2, 3, 4 legs down the road, you can now, you know, not artificially, you now actually manufacture the deal, okay? Because you say, I'm a taker for that, and he's a taker for that. Let's talk on the phone, let's see what it is. Balancing the equities, give a challenge. Making sure everyone's commissions are fair, all that, you know. And another thing, so I'll just say now, I haven't brought it up yet. We can't talk too much about commissions because we're a meeting of competitors, but the reality is, the biggest thing that we're going to get when we go to another broker who's not a member of exchange groups and offer them something else as a down payment for their property and ask for a seller carry, things like that, what's the first question you usually get?
How do you get paid?
Yes, Frank's done this one. How am I going to get paid? Do you have a listing agreement? Well, of course I have a listing agreement. I couldn't put it out on the MLS without a listing agreement. Does the listing agreement say that you get paid? Yes, it does. Okay. That's how you get paid. Our listing agreements say any transfer, any of the rest of it. It doesn't say just for cash. If they close the deal, you're going to get paid, okay? If they took in 3 cats and a dog and an RV, they're going to have to get out their checkbook and write you a check unless you particularly like any of those cats or dogs, okay? That's just the way it is, okay? They signed up, remember. Is it easy to sell real estate? No. All of the people in here who are incredibly wealthy because it's hard to sell real estate, okay? Because we get paid for that. So, all righty. See what else I got up here in the mystery. Okay, so thirdly, apply formulas. Okay, we have hundreds of different ways of doing transactions. We've just covered a couple of them. I'll go into a few more. But apply these things, okay? Use these different formulas. Don't just say it won't work, okay? Please don't just say it won't work. Apply the formula. This can happen during the moderation or following the presentation. During the moderation, a lot of times somebody in the room, and this is where we talk about the solution part, says, hey, what about using this formula? And the presenter says, oh my goodness, yeah, I hadn't even thought of using that formula. We talk about it, now they've got a whole new direction to go down, okay? And then they can talk about it afterwards. how we do the presentation is we talk about the property, the people, the opportunity, and the solution. Opportunity and problem, some people say problem. That's just the way we do it. Been doing it a long time, it's very effective. That way you get the details, you know what the property is to start up front. And please, I gotta ask people also, and it happens so often in meetings, if the property isn't something that you like or think your client would want, don't stop listening, okay? There's always something in there. They may be a taker for something you got. Just always keep listening, no matter if you're not interested, because the people part of it and the opportunity, that's the meat of the sandwich, okay? Formulas might come up during the solution. Write your ideas and formulas in written mini offers so the good idea is not lost. So Erica has kindly handed these out. These are mini forms. I'm really guilty of not writing mini forms, so please forgive me and make me write one if I need to. But these are very good to have. Everybody, when they go home, the first priority is the ones that have written mini forms, okay? When I open my notebook when I get home, if I've got a stack of written minis, I usually work on those first thing, okay? So write the mini offers. Ask more questions to optimize benefits. So this doesn't have to be done during the presentation. It can happen afterwards. Once we theoretically have a deal going, try not to get so excited you got a deal, just go under contract without exploring it. It still works if you do it, but ask some more questions, okay? And let's see if we can't make it better for everybody without, don't make perfect the enemy of the good, but make the deals as best you can, because chances are there are questions that have been asked to either of the principals that could make it better for both sides at no cost to the other side. So I just can't say that enough. So, alrighty? Okay, the power of the room. Every marketing room is what we're talking about. This is the room, okay? Think of the net worth of everybody in here. Think of how many years of experience everybody has in here, okay? We're a pretty powerful, strong group that have done well for each of us as individuals. And we're here sharing and doing this collectively, a lot of us because we like to do it, okay? Not because we need more money, okay? I'll pick on Tom. Tom doesn't need any more money, but Tom's here because he likes doing this, right?
You got it.
It's fun, right? You could put your money in the stock market and not do anything, and you go on vacation, right? But instead you drove to Albuquerque, or did you fly?
I flew.
You flew,
I
okay.
got tired.
Yeah, boy, are my arms tired. Right? You have to say, come on. We're old enough, you gotta say that one. All right, anyhow, my biggest pet peeve is people who come to the meetings and think this is just a place to raise cash and buy properties. It is a great place to raise cash. It's a great place to buy properties, okay? It's a lot more than just that. So if you're just here to bring cash, that's fine, because you'll get some good deals, but again, there's an internet for that. The goal is to get the deals closed for the clients of the attendees, okay? That is the deal. Your clients, a client is a person under protection of another. Our goal is to get those deals closed. Moderators will ask questions to get answers, to solicit interest in the set of benefits being offered, and to identify the order that is being placed. Remember Jason Dillard's statement, we're placing an order. We got to get up there at the podium and really properly present the order, okay? If it's not clear what we want and what we're offering, you're going to have a hard time getting deals. So. Follow up, okay? Like I say, be like a dog with a bone, okay? Don't give up until you try all of it and then try again.
Central Time.
Don't forget notes, third legs, and other takers, all right? So just keep working it. If you got a tough one, that's just more of a challenge, okay? And I'm trying to be encouraging, I guess, and follow up is the key. So you're going to have, here's a skinny notebook compared to some, but say you go to the national meeting, you got a notebook this thick, okay? This is a whole opportunity to do hundreds of deals. There are hundreds, if not thousands of deals in the book. If you just went to one book and went through, you can find deals. So if you ever run out of a deal, go back to your books and look. And even if you're not a party to it, you can see things that are going on and get yourself involved one way or another. All right? And when I see the dog with the bone, it makes me think of like John McFadden. Okay, John McFadden sells land. Have any of you done a deal with John? He'll call you, right? And you call again, right? And again and again and again, and it works. Okay, he's very effective because he's like a dog with a bone. Okay, and that's how you want to be. And don't give up. Don't get discouraged. Okay, power of the room, and I think this is about all I'm getting there, yeah. So we're about done, folks, so you can know as we get, the power of the room is the people, unbelievable, you know, if you put together the net worth and the experience, we're a pretty proud group. The formulas, we have hundreds, if not an infinite number of formulas, you know, because they're all, can be multiplied times each other. That's one of the big powers that we have that the other groups don't have. We have the knowledge of it, the cooperation, okay? I'm sure every one of us has the same feeling about this. Have you ever come across a group of people, of brokers who cooperate like this? Nowhere in the world that I know of are there professionals who cooperate like Exchangors do, okay? Now, you might not always get along. There might be one or two people that you don't want to cooperate with, but in general, we're competitors who cooperate, and we cooperate for the benefit of our clients, okay? And that is why I say some certain things, like we obviously can't talk about fees or different, you know, there's things that we can't do because we're meeting with competitors, but that doesn't mean we have to compete. That means, you know, we can cooperate, we can get together and cooperate. We're not, you know, all of us have been to different groups of different agents and stuff. It's not about being the smartest or the best dressed or the fanciest self. It's about who is the best public servant, who's helping their clients and getting things done. And even for people who are just principals, okay, the public is you. You're serving that part of yourself that owns the investment and the experience. And so, besides thank you, the rest is really thank you to the New Mexico Exchangers for us in the meeting. Okay, Erica and Amanda, and those who did all the work, which I think is Erica and Amanda, and Dion. Dion did work too, yeah, so we have the 3 workers. Thank you so much. And then I also want to thank the experienced members like Howard, who's not here yet, and Tony and Rick Cook and all the rest, because who have made this as an important part of how they do business and promoted their local group over the decades. How long have you been a member of this group, Tony?
Like 45 years.
45 years, okay? In our local group, we have the same kind of thing. How long have you been a member of shit? Forever. Yeah. So that's, you know, we get to know each other. Some of my best friends are exchangers. It's a whole different culture, and, you know, all I can do is welcome you to it, and, you know, thank you for participating, and, you know, hopefully not being too bored with this morning telling you stuff you already knew. So thank you all. We are done.